despite the fact that the Niners, he looked good in 2 of the 3 games. I mean, in 2 of his 3 games last year, his quarterback rating was over 115. That's promising for a rookie. Despite all they gave up to get him, still haven't named him the starter. Still have Jimmy Garoppolo here. It's still kind of, despite what they say, we like them. It feels like they're hedging. And in your opinion, like, there's a lot of theories, right? As long as they're hedging, as long as Kyle creates the mystery, you can take it however you want to take it. And people are going to say, he doesn't like Trey Lance. It seems to me that it's probably very nuanced here. Why do you think the hedge is happening even this late into the process?
Well, I just think they don't understand the pressure. That's all. I don't know if it says as much about Trey Lance or anything, because I don't think we've heard anything that could tell us, oh, this is what they think about Trey Lance. It's just they understand now that given all that they traded up for him, Grant, you need to do one of these.
What?
Oh, you came back in focus.
Oh, my bad. Sorry about that.
I was like, oh, Grant, we
I'm
gotta
looking up because I'm saying, like, what's crazy about the pressure that Trey Lance is under, it's way so much more pressure than even Trevor Lawrence or Zach Wilson, which is crazy because he was picked after them.
Right.
So it's really what the Niners did trading up to get him.
And you know what else is crazy? Those 2 franchises from day one, the moment they drafted him, we're all in on those 2 guys starting from day one. Like, the Jets went into the season with Mike White. Really?
Dude, Trevor Lawrence threw 17 picks last year.
Yeah.
If Trey Lance had done that, people would have. I mean, Kyle Shanahan would be on the hot seat. I mean, people would be talking about him recklessly all year because they traded up.
But that's the point, right? The first things first is what they gave up to trade up for him. That makes the conversation more difficult. And then the second part of the conversation is Trevor Lawrence had to deal with Urban Meyer and a crappy offensive line, and Marvin Jones is his number 1 receiver and a bad defense and a bad organization. Zach Wilson had the protection actually improved a lot the second half of the year. It wasn't that good at the beginning. The receivers, Elijah Moore came along, but like, it was a young football team. It was very injured. Robert Saleh just seems to be cursed from that standpoint. And they were not very good. Trey Lance is coming into a situation with a really good team. Kyle Shanahan, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel. And that's where the pressure, along with what they gave up to trade for him, exacerbates, where he has to be good now. And I think that's a little bit unfair to him because he hasn't really gotten to play. There's going to be
I don't even think it's good, man. I think it's great. To me, what they gave up was more than what the Rams gave up for Stafford. They gave up 3 firsts and a third. That's what the Browns gave up for Watson. Watson went to 3 straight Pro Bowls. Watson is what people would consider a great quarterback or a excellent quarterback.
Yeah, Stafford is looked at as a perennially top 10 quarterback. Watson is looked like as an elite franchise. You know, when we talk about the best quarterbacks in the game, the ones that, you know, can just elevate a franchise, that can put a team on their back, that you can hands down win a Super Bowl no matter who the quarterback is, where he can play like the best quarterback in the NFL for a season and stuff like that. Watson's with Allen and Mahomes and those guys. I know, like, what he did was weird. That entire situation was weird, and he didn't play last year. But healthy Deshaun Watson, to me, is after Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Like, I like him. I think he's better than Justin Herbert. I'll say that.
Wow. I just think it's amazing. Like, everyone compares Trey Lance to Josh Allen, right? So Josh Allen, when he was a rookie, he was 22. Trey Lance was a 21-year-old rookie. He'll be 22 this year. When Josh Allen was 22 in the NFL, he was 5-6. He completed 52% of his passes. He threw 10 touchdowns and 12 interceptions.
Yeah, but he had an insane season running as a rookie. The running was can't.
And he showed a lot of flashes. He did not look like a bum, but it was rough. If Trey Lance does that this year, it's going to be unacceptable. And it's not because of him. It's because the Niners traded up. It's because they traded up, and they didn't trade up a little bit. It wasn't like a first and a third, like what the Chiefs gave up for Patrick Mahomes. It was 3 years worth of first round picks.
I think if he did it last year too, I think it would have been a little bit more acceptable, because the perception of Lance last year was, okay, he's going to need some time. Okay, so you go through a growing pains last year. But if he does it this year after he got the time, the Niners will get absolutely eviscerated.
Crushed.
Yeah.
So it seems to me that Kyle knows, as long as he keeps saying, you know, Trey's almost ready. Trey's almost ready. He's coming along. He's going to be great. He's going to be great. But he waits until that day comes. He's okay. But as soon as he plays him like prematurely and he's not great right away, Kyle's in trouble.
Yeah.
It's not Trey's in trouble. Kyle's in trouble because Kyle staked his reputation on it. Kyle wanted it.
Yeah, no. I think that's
He knows that.
inarguable. It's
He
inarguable
knows
at this
that.
point. Um, the one thing I will say though, and I do think in fairness, because I've talked about this a little bit. I've never really liked the Josh Allen comparison for Trey Lance. I feel like it's Josh Allen has turned into like the Debo Samuel of comparisons, where if a guy can do something after the catch, he's Debo Samuel. He can do
Right.
Debo Samuel thing. The
Right.
guy is big and has a strong arm, whatever, he's Josh Allen. If he needs a little refinement, because Trey Lance did not need the amount of refinement Josh Allen needed coming out of college. Josh Allen didn't even really play within his offense. He had crappy protection. He had terrible receivers. He used to just run out of the pocket, run people over, and throw 40 yards down the field. And sometimes
Yeah.
it would be the greatest throw you've ever seen. And sometimes it would be like, wow, you missed by that much.
Yeah.
So it was literally that. Lance actually like functioned within an offense. He
Yeah.
played the correct way, all that. And also I think Allen has a streak of recklessness that's not really in Trey Lance's game. I find Trey Lance to be a lot more I don't want to use conservative because it comes across as like a shot, but I find him to be a much more Allen has a little Brett Favre
Yes.
in
Yes.
him where
Yeah.
it's just, oh, he's gonna run around, run somebody over, and throw the ball
Lance
as
threw
hard as
what?
he can. Yeah.
No picks in college?
Yeah,
One
he
pick
threw
in
no
college?
picks.
Yeah, I
He
mean, that's
doesn't have that.
yeah,
And
he's a
so
very
I think it's
smart
a little
quarterback. Yeah.
different. Yeah, it's a very, very like poised.
Yes.
It's a little. It was. It's a. There's a Dak Prescott level
Yes.
calmness to him. That's why I like
Yes.
the Dak comparison
Yeah.
with Dak plus Uber traits. So I've never liked the Josh Allen comparison from that standpoint. I think their development track is also totally different. I think they
Right.
needed different things.
Right.
Um, but I also think that the pressure on him is immense, and it's immense because of the situation. And I think it's unfortunate because, like, I think most people would look at it as after the draft, oh, Lance is actually in the best spot. But Lance is also in the worst spot in a different kind of way because he has to be good immediately. And
Mm.
he can not only be good statistically, he has to be good in terms of getting results and
Right.
wins and losses, right? He
Right.
could be phenomenal statistically, but if the Niners go 7
Because
and
Jimmy
10,
gets the results.
exactly.
Yep.
Which I mean that
In
I
retrospect, it'd be
and
better
here's the
if Trey went to freaking the Jets and be like, "You know what? They're not gonna be good for a while. Just play. Learn.
yeah, just
Go
play.
to
Just
go to the
yeah, there's
Jets."
not
That's
pressure
what
to
Josh Allen
go
got
and
to
get
do.
and there's I mean Steve Young can attest to that, right? Steve Young won what 2 MVPs and people said he couldn't beat the Cowboys. Joe Montana would have
True.
beaten the Cowboys. One of
True.
the greatest the Cowboys in the 90s are
Dude,
one of the
Jackhammer
greatest teams
tweeted
in
that 2
NFL
months
history,
ago.
but yeah.
Jackhammer, shout out
Yeah.
Jackhammer. I love you. He tweeted that 2 months ago. Like Steve Young still can't get that
Yeah.
monkey off his back. I'm telling you, it doesn't go away. People from that
He won
generation
2 MVPs.
back to back.
2.
People still think Joe should play. There was nothing Steve could have done. Anyway,
Yeah, so it sucks that
this
way,
guy has
but
to be Steve
at
Young,
least
Trey Lance when he hits the field, buddy. You got to
well, if
complete
he's Steve
70% of
Young,
your throws.
at least from the standpoint of if he wins an MVP, at least he's got Jimmy Garoppolo there because Jimmy Garoppolo's never coming near an MVP in his career.
Can we just point out how unsuccessful the big trade up has been for a quarterback in NFL history? I mean, we're talking moving up into the top 3.
Top 5, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's very expensive. It puts a ton of pressure on the player. That's not his fault. It's like you're a top 5 pick, and let's multiply that by 50 or whatever. Let's
Yeah.
put a multiplier on that just to make it even tougher. Go get them. I mean, who are the guys?
I mean, you want to go the last
Wentz.
12 years, it starts with RG3, it's Jared Goff, it's Carson Wentz, and it's Trey Lance. And the thing is, I think each of them are a case by case. I don't think just because those guys were unsuccessful, you can say trade anytime you trade up for a
Were they?
quarterback in the
Goff
top
went to
5.
2 Pro Bowls. Wentz went to 1 Pro Bowl. RG3. I mean, like if they hadn't had the big trade up, you could be like, well, he had a decent career for a first round.
You're
pick.
right. You're right.
You know what
From
I mean?
that
But the
standpoint,
trade
you're
up was
right.
like he was a total bust.
Yeah, because
Like
technically we look at it and at this point we look at Carson Wentz as a flop for the Eagles,
Total
but
flop.
technically he almost won an MVP. Goff went to a couple Pro Bowls.
Respectable.
RG3 won Rookie of the Year. Those are not like the same thing as
Respectable.
Jamarcus Russell.
Yes.
You're right. I didn't realize that, but the perception
It's
is a little bit
all about the
clouded just because
perception.
of the trade up.
And Trey is now facing that, dude. If you're not Patrick, if you're not Deshaun Watson, if you're any less than Deshaun Watson, people are going to be like, man, that was too much. They gave up too much for you.
Yeah.
Hey, that one incompletion, that was your fault. I mean, it's just going to be. You thought Jimmy Garoppolo got it bad, and he did get it a lot because of his contract. Well, Trey Lance is going to get it because of the draft picks, because of the trade, if not even more, because those those first round picks are like
It
gold.
takes a lot of self-belief to live up to that pressure. And I think what made Watson so special in college, and I was listening to Jordan Palmer talk about quarterbacks with Rich Eisen a couple of weeks ago, and he said to him the two most important traits a quarterback needs to have, and they're both intangible actually. It was interesting. He said self-created confidence where you don't need anybody else to tell you you're the man, you know
Yeah,
you're the
yeah.
freaking man. Or sorry, he wasn't with Rich Eisen. He was talking about this on the Herd a few years back when he was talking about Joe Burrow. And then the other one is maturity. We know Lance has the maturity in spades, but I mean that confidence we'll only get to see it because you only know if the guy has that level of confidence in his lowest of lows, right? Like Deshaun Watson is so confident he tore his ACL his rookie year after having a great season and came back and was every bit as good. Joe Burrow, same thing with his knee,
Mm-hmm.
and he had to deal with the bad protection, all that, and he still plays like he's the freaking man. RG3, on the other hand, you saw him lose confidence after he tore up his
That's
knee.
true.
Garoppolo, you saw him lose
Lost
confidence
confidence.
after he tore up his knee. So like
Yeah.
that confidence thing, as much as I think he has it, I don't know that. I've never been around him. Until a guy actually goes through, the ups and downs of the NFL, you don't know if he has the confidence in himself and that self-belief to bounce back no matter what, right? Because all the great players, and that's my entire thing with the starting sitting conversation. Oh, you don't want to ruin his psyche, blah, blah, blah. In my opinion, the starting sitting, I think it's a case by case. Some guys need to start, some guys don't. I don't think it means that by sitting you're going to be more successful. I don't think it means by starting you're going to be more successful. But your psyche is going to get ruined at some point in the NFL. You can't protect a guy from that. And the really great ones are the ones that do have the confidence to overcome that. And the ones that don't aren't going to be good regardless of their situation. That's just the reality of real life, but it's exacerbated to a T because of the microscopic view that everybody has on the NFL.
To me, if you took a quarterback in round one, the only reason not to play him is that you think your team is so bad that he'll like literally get hurt. Your offensive line
Yeah.
is so bad he'll get. Otherwise, you took him in round one, you should freaking play him. That's the way I look at it. But I don't know. I'm old school like that, new school like that. I don't know. The coach says, Grant, why is Trey not being named the starter now an issue for you? Educate me. Naming Trey a starter now is pouring gas on the fire. See, to me, not naming him the starter is pouring gas on the fire. Keeping Jimmy is pouring gas on the fire. Like everyone wanted when the Niners said they were going to keep Jimmy and put Trey Lance on ice for a year, they essentially invoked the Chiefs, Alex Smith, and Patrick Mahomes relentlessly. Well, it worked for them. Yeah, but they didn't do this year too. They named Patrick Mahomes a starter after one start.
Yeah, it was totally different, right? There was questions about whether Patrick Mahomes would start the playoff game after, because they lost that playoff game to
Mhm.
Tennessee. They were up
Mhm.
20-0. Travis Kelce got hurt. It went all downhill. But after his Week 17 performance at Denver, there were people saying, "Oh, he might start the playoff game. He was that good." But that was totally different, right? Because Alex Smith was traded January 30th. You know who was traded
Yeah,
January 30th of last year, just to give you perspective of the timeline or around that time?
Stafford.
Or Stafford. Yeah.
Stafford.
So
That's
Alex Smith
when
was
Jimmy
traded
should have
around then.
gotten traded if there was a market for him.
It's a totally different situation. I
Yeah.
know John Lynch said that the shoulder injury, they were so close to getting him traded, but then the shoulder surgery screwed them. I don't know if I buy that as much because he also spoke out of his butt a couple months ago when he said they didn't really get any offers for
Mm.
Garoppolo. So how close are you to trading a guy who you didn't get offers for? I'm
Did say
not
that.
100% sure of that entire conversation. In regards to the Garoppolo shoulder surgery, I do think that it's being a little overblown on the hate to Garoppolo because I do think it's in his best benefit to try and rehab the injury first and then get surgery if he needs it. He doesn't owe anybody any timeline. He's got to do what's best for him as an athlete and his body, which I don't really fault him for. But I mean, this situation is a little sketch right now. I think that naming Trey Lance the starter, again, the coach is right. It doesn't really change much in the grand scheme of things. But I also think not naming him the starter like this and saying, oh, he's got a chance to compete to show us that he's the guy we believe in and all of that is not the type of dialect that's usually used when you're talking about a guy that you trade up that much for and make him your franchise quarterback. And I think that's
It
where.
opens the door for the Matt Lombardos of the world to say they heard someone say that you're continually underwhelmed by him.
Right,
It
right, and
opens the
I
door
think
for
that's I think it's a little I don't know if it's a cultural thing, quote unquote, but like I think I have a good analogy for this. Like, So, like, the other thing, right, with the state of the franchise, I think you and I were the only ones that were actually upset about the fact that the third overall pick in the draft was not featured in the state of
Yeah.
the franchise, but that was last year. Hopefully, he's featured in this year's. Um, I think that okay. So the analogy I have is like Trey Lance is like the kid whose dad, like, spends a lot of money on him and does a lot of things for him. So he expects the kid to immediately know that his dad loves him and his dad thinks very highly of him, but he doesn't tell him. And these other quarterbacks are the people whose dad spends a lot of money on them or whatever, but is constantly telling them, "You're the best. We love you. We believe in you," and doing it publicly. And I think that's you. Do you get where I'm going?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Okay. So that's kind of the analogy here, and I don't think that it really means that much. But if you have had parents that are less effusive with their praise, especially
Mhm,
to your face, it goes a long way when they do tell you like,
mhm.
"Hey, you're our guy," even when they say it publicly. Um, I do think it does go a long way for your
They did
personal
that for
standing.
Jimmy
Yeah.
all the time, relentlessly.
Yeah.
They never didn't do that for Jimmy, but they haven't done it for Trey yet. Corey says the perception is not just the draft, it's the fact they haven't officially named him the starter yet. By not doing that, you substantiate all the
Yeah.
premature doubt. That's what I'm saying. Absolutely. You allow
Yeah.
some former
Yeah.
NFL scout to come out and say that da-da-da, he's a terrible player. I mean, really, just stand
Oh, the
behind him.
former NFL scout is on YouTube. I was looking for some video, and for whatever reason, he showed up on my recommended, and he claims that Mike White should be the Jets' starting quarterback, not Zach Wilson. So,
All right, man. Nice. Nice. I love it. Tom Jensen says, member, shout out to the members. I'm going to start reading members' comments because you guys already pay. Why didn't I do that already? Anyway, Lance did beat out Jimmy G, but Kyle lacked the stones to stand up to his locker room. It's true. That's the way I saw it.
I mean, at
Everything
this,
that Lance did last year was invalidated because he mostly took second team reps. Everyone, it's not against Fred Warner. Like, well, okay, what's he supposed to do?
well, I mean, wasn't the starter throwing interceptions to Fred Warner?
All the time. But that's just because Warner's so good.